Okay, so we just made a couple pulls just to make sure that we're that our conditions are all consistent. The pulls were done within minutes. If you come up here and look, now this is the difference between a map in our Power Commander 5 versus no map for this system. Down here we're looking at, you know, maybe a horsepower. In the middle, 135 to 137.4. Peak here, 187 to 188, and if you look at our total readings, we went from 188.02 to 188.7. Now, we were looking at our air-fuel ratios down here. They've gone from a 13.9 to a 13.3, and where our 14s were previously, we've dropped them down to a 13.5. Now, some people would say, but Brock, that's not much. There are guys out there that charge hundreds of dollars for a map. That doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. Well, I want to show you a little secret that a lot of guys don't know about mapping, and it's something that we concentrate on here at my company quite a bit. What I'm going to do is change the scale here. Instead of worrying about horsepower, torque, and engine RPM, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a particular area of this graph. And I'm going to go and I'm going to pick from, let's say, here in the 6,100 RPM range up to, close to 14,000 RPM. And I'm going to change from engine speed to time. How long did it take for both of these runs, with the map versus without the map? How long did it take for the bike to accelerate? Well, the blue line is without the map. So under the same time, same gear, same conditions, within moments of each other, before the bike hit the rev limiter, and people will notice I run into the rev limiter each time when I make a pull. Well, that's so I get a consistent stopping point. It took 8.2 seconds over the same length, or the same RPM range. It took approximately 8.2 seconds with no map to accelerate over that RPM distance. Well, with the map, it took 7.5 seconds for the bike to accelerate over that same RPM range. So what we're talking about is the bike accelerated 0.7 seconds quicker over that same RPM range with the map versus without the map. That is huge. It's absolutely huge. We didn't get bragging numbers to tell our buddies on the dyno about our bike on the dyno as far as peak power or torque or, wow, look at what it did. What this means is if you have two bikes out there and they're both side by side, one bike is going to be accelerating quicker than the other, and that was only in one gear. Imagine what's going to happen each time you shift your motorcycle. Now, there's that lesson. Now what we're going to do, I'm a racer, I like to see how fast I can go. We're going to take the pump gas out of this thing. We're going to put in some of VP's MR12 racing fuel. It's a highly oxygenated race gas. We've already got a map to match it. Since we're over here making some changes to this bike under the same conditions, this is a great time to see just what kind of power we can get out of this thing. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, we just finished testing the VP MR12 in the Vista ZX10R. If you step up to the screen here, we'll show you that the MR12 is some pretty cool stuff. Now, we dumped it in and we had to put a map in. I wouldn't recommend running MR12 without a matching map. It is highly oxygenated. I'm sure VP would agree with us when we say you're going to want the air-fuel ratio to be correct with this. But you can see, wow, what a gain. 187 to 194 at 13,000 RPM. It really helps in the peak areas. It helps down low also. I mean, it's pour in horsepower. So if we go back here and we do a comparison, you know, maybe back to where we started earlier today with the stock exhaust and the zero map, we're looking at 183 horsepower. We put on the slip-on and mapped it, peak 188, and then put the MR12 in. We've got 194. Now this is all on the SAE scale, the Society of Automotive Engineers. When most people speak horsepower numbers, they like to talk about the STD scale. Well, on the STD scale with the MR12, 198.08 horsepower out of this ZX10. The bike is still stock. We've got some oil, we've got some additive, we've poured in, we've dumped in. We're still talking about a stock bike with a slip-on exhaust system here, a Dynojet PC5 and mapping. It's really impressive, the amount of horsepower that we can get out of this thing economically and really not trying very hard. We've picked up very few wrenches so far, and I don't know if you can tell, but you can tell from the shine, it has just gotten hotter and hotter. The conditions are miserable. Our correction factor here on our dyno, and I won't make Corey pan back up, but our conditions, we've got a correction factor of 1.07 today. The dyno temperature in the room right now is right at 95 degrees. Our humidity's high. If we had a correction factor of 1.02, this bike would have already broken 200 horsepower. We're at the mercy of Mother Nature right now. So as we progress and as we continue to test for dragbike.com, I'm sure the horsepower numbers are going to continue to get more impressive, and we're going to try and get this thing down to drag strip as soon as we can. For dragbike.com, I'm Brock Davidson. We'll be back with you soon.